If you're always the person who says yes when you want to say no, there's a reason people keep taking advantage of you, and it's not simply because you're just too nice. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you why nice people always get taken advantage of, and more importantly, I'm going to show you how to fix it. But first, let's talk about why traditional advice you're probably being told on this topic doesn't work. Traditional advice would simply tell you to just say no and to not really think or care about the other person's feelings or how they might interpret your no. And the problem with that is that if you are a naturally empathetic person, somebody who actually does care, this traditional advice feels wrong, although you know that it's right. Why would that be? Where is the disconnect? There are three. One, it's simply easier to keep the peace and avoid conflict by being agreeable. It's easier to keep the peace by saying yes. Two, you often think that if you are going out of your way, you're going to be selfless, that action is going to be reciprocated. It's going to come back to you. And the third reason why this feels wrong, even though you know it's right, is because it goes against your core nature to help and connect with people. This explains Sarah's reaction. When Sarah's phone buzzes at 9 p.m., it's her coworker, again, asking if Sarah could cover the weekend shift for the third time this month. This is an actual thing that happened. So Sarah looks at her plans and she's like, man, I really should say no. I don't want to cover this shift last minute again. But instead, she says, sure, happy to help. And as soon as she sent that message, she immediately regret sending it. So again, if this sounds familiar, if you're the person who says yes when you want to say no, let's talk about the reason why people are taking advantage of you. It's not just because you're nice, and it's not exactly what you think. Here's something that I learned the hard way. When you always say yes, people don't appreciate you more. They're not necessarily inspired to reciprocate. We just train them to expect that behavior from us. And then on the off chance when we do say no or we don't deliver on the yes, then they get upset. There is a difference between being kind and then being a pushover. And learning that difference changes everything. So the real issue isn't that you're too nice or too empathetic. That's actually a good thing to have. All you need is to be able to communicate your needs in a way that actually gets heard without you feeling guilty and without coming across as being mean. If nothing changes, if we just keep saying yes to be agreeable, to keep the peace, because we don't have this communication skill, the result is that you'll continue to feel exhausted and even resentful in these relationships, and that will come out eventually and damage the relationship that you're so desperately trying to preserve. So let's fix this problem. We're going to fix this problem by giving you two responses that you can give when you're put on the spot in these situations. Because let's face it, when somebody's asking you for a favor, oftentimes you weren't really thinking about it, you weren't prepared for it, but with these two responses, you will be prepared. The first response, if somebody comes to do you a favor, let's use Sarah's again as the example. Hey, Jim comes to Sarah and says, can you cover this shift for me last minute? The first response Sarah can say is, how am I supposed to do that? Or the way I kind of tweak this is, I don't know how I can do that. And the reason why this is so good is this is something I came up with. This is something that I read in the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This is the most tactful and polite way to say no without actually using the word. And the reason why it works so well is it makes the other person see things from your perspective. Because when they're coming to you for a favor, they're only looking at their perspective. They're only considering what they are needing or wanting. But when you say, how am I supposed to do that? Now they have to consider your perspectives and your needs. For the vast majority of people who are normal human beings, this will be enough to stop them in their tracks and reconsider what they're asking you. Now, we need a second response, because for the other people who are maybe more desperate or more insistent or more aggressive, they're going to push back. And maybe they might be like, well, can you cancel your plans? I'll get you on the next one. Or maybe I can sweeten the deal. I'll give you a little extra money. Now, at that point, you have a decision to make. If that's a good deal, you can take it. But if it's not a good deal and you still want to say no, here's the second response. Something to the effect of, I appreciate this generous offer. I still have to respectfully decline. All right, that is still better and more honest than the response that might go well, that sounds great. Let me think about it, maybe, possibly, and then hope that they just forget to respond back to you or expect that you're going to be ghosting them now. Again, so here's the two responses again. How am I supposed to do that? And I appreciate the offer. I have to respectfully decline. If you do that, this is your way to be able to say no gracefully, still considerate of their feelings, still doing it in a way that doesn't make you feel guilty or comes across as mean, not totally neglecting their feelings, because that's not in your nature to begin with. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus because maybe you know somebody who continues to push your boundaries, to continue to ask you for favors, and there's no stopping them without being rude, it seems. And so here's the conversation that you can have so you can establish fair boundaries and there won't be this awkwardness. So how do you have this conversation? There are three things, but first I'll tell you what we will not do. We will not make this mistake. We will not start a conversation with, hey, we need to talk. Those 4 words, we need to talk, will only make the other person defensive, and it usually goes downhill from there. Here's what we'll do instead. First step of 3. We're going to lead with some sort of curiosity. Leading with curiosity is going to open their mind to a perspective and be ready for it. And we're doing that by demonstrating that empathy first. So instead of saying, we need to talk, you need to stop texting me late at night with last minute requests, it's very disrespectful. Sarah might say instead, hey, it seems like you get a lot of fun opportunities that tend to pop up last minute. And that's it. By using a simile like it seems like, looks like, something along those lines, you're not directly attacking the other person, but you are able to state just a blanket observation, which allows her to understand, Jennifer in this case, that she is kind of understood on some level. And they're going to validate your response or they're going to correct it and then things go from there. Second thing we're going to do is add some clarity for your particular boundaries. Once we establish what their life is like, now you can establish what your needs are. Now, most nice people make the mistake of hinting at their needs instead of stating them clearly. So a nice person might say, well, it would be nice if, no. We're going to say, I need. So in the case of Sarah and coaching her, the plan is to say this: I plan my schedule weeks in advance and I need to stick to that schedule so that way I can stay balanced and be the best version of me at home and work. Otherwise, I feel overwhelmed. And then I just want to tell you this because that's the reason why I say no to last minute requests and to working extra hours. Now, again, the beauty of this is that none of this is attacking the other person. It's just stating this is my boundary. And without you saying it directly, what you are saying is, and if you cross this boundary, I'm saying no. All right. It has nothing to do with the other person and what they may or may not do. It's like, hey, I'm just letting you know this is what's going to happen. Here's the third thing. This is a way of courtesy. We use a little tact so we don't make the other person feel shamed or judged. And this is how we smooth it all out. We give them what's called the golden bridge. It gives them a way to understand the situation to make sure that they are not being blamed. It goes something like this. For Sarah, the coaching advice was, I realize you may have thought that I wanted the extra cash or you weren't aware of how I plan my schedule. And that's why I'm saying to you now as to the reason why I don't typically say yes to last minute requests. It's not just about you, but I don't really do this for anybody. Again, these are all true statements. It's letting her know, it's like, hey, you probably didn't know this about me. I realize you probably had good reason for asking me. Maybe you thought you were helping me out. It doesn't have to be accurate. It just gives them the golden bridge, a way to save face for their previous behavior, again, without you directly calling it out. Now, giving this advice to Sarah worked out really, really well. In fact, she came back and she was like, oh my gosh, Rico, this felt like a master class on how to have difficult conversations. Now, Jennifer is still Jennifer and she still asks, but she asks far less. And when Sarah says no, it's way better received without all the awkward tension, without the guilty feelings for saying it. And it's working out really, really wonderfully. So here's what I would like for you to do right now. Step 1 is to think of the relationships where you feel taken for granted. Step 2, identify one specific need that you've been afraid to express. And then 3, practice how you would communicate using the 3 C's that I was just mentioning, or those 2 responses in these scenarios. And if you would like to go deeper with this, I've created a free assessment that helps you to identify your relationship strengths and challenges, as well as the blueprint for having difficult conversations. So remember, your empathy is not a weakness. It is your superpower. You just need to learn how to wield it in order to use it effectively. And if this has resonated with you, hit that like and subscribe button and let me know in the comments which of these points in this video really stood out to you the most, so that way I can continue to dive deeper into things that you care about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.